going to learn about nutrition in plants. This is from CBSE Standard 7. So first of all, when we are talking about nutrition in plant, let us learn that what is the meaning of nutrition and what are the nutrients present in the food. So carbohydrates, fat, protein, vitamins are the components of the food. When we are describing any food, nowadays we are talking about healthy food and junk food. So healthy foods must have all these components in it so that we can utilize them for our body growth and for our life processes. So nutrition is, or the nutrient is these components. What are these components? Carbohydrate, fat, protein, vitamin. All these components are part of the food. And these components are called nutrients. So what is the meaning of nutrients? That all these components are present in the food and these components are making food nutritious. And that's why they are called nutrients. Now why we are giving so much importance to these nutrients? Because their functions are very important for our body and for our life processes. So first, they are important in our body building. When we will grow, it will help us to grow our organ, our body. So for the growth, they are important. Then third, to repair damaged part of the body. They will not only help in growth, but they will also repair the damaged part of the body. Then fourth is, they will provide energy to carry out life processes. They will give us energy. Carbohydrates function is to give us energy. All this energy, what all you required for your routine life, it comes from these nutrients. So then as a whole, what is the meaning of nutrition? So nutrition is the mode of taking food by organism and they are utilizing it for their body or their life processes is termed as nutrition. That all the organisms are following certain modes via which they are taking food. So regarding modes and how they are taking their food, that we are going to discuss in coming segment. So what is the nutrition? That mode of taking food by organism and they are utilizing this food for their life processes and for their body is termed as nutrition. We discuss that nutrition is the mode of taking nutrition by the organism. That means via which mode they are making nutrition or they are making their food or they are taking their food. So there are two modes to take the nutrition. First is autotrophic mode of nutrition and second is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Autotrophic mode means auto means self and tropic means nourishment. That means they are preparing their own food. And hetero means they are depending upon other organisms for their food requirement. That mode is known as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now when we are talking about autotrophic mode of nutrition, all the plants are termed as autotrophs because they are preparing their own food via the process which is called photosynthesis. So that's why all the plants are autotrophs. They are called autotrophs because they are preparing their own food with the help of simple substances. That's why they are termed as autotrophs and their mode of nutrition is autotrophic mode of nutrition. Where heterotrophic mode of nutrition is followed by all the animals because they are depending either on plants or on other organism or animal. For example, deer. Deer is depending upon the plants, whereas tiger is depending upon other animal. All the animals and humans also, they are termed as heterotrophs because they are depending upon the plants and animal to fulfill their food requirement. They are not making their food by their own. So that's why hetero means other. They are depending upon others, so their mode of nutrition is heterotrophic mode of nutrition and we call them heterotrophs. Autotrophic mode of nutrition. So how autotrophs are making their own food? So autotrophs are making their own food via process called photosynthesis. That means plants and trees are doing photosynthesis, and via this they are making their own food. Now during photosynthesis what will happen? So they require water, mineral, CO2 is carbon dioxide, and they need sunlight. With the help of these four simple substances, they will make their food and they will liberate oxygen into the air. Now let us understand in detail. First of all, water and mineral. So water and mineral, they are taking via roots. So via roots, they are taking water and mineral from the soil. Then carbon dioxide. CO2 is a molecular formula of gaseous substance, that is carbon dioxide. We all know that when we will exhale, we exhale carbon dioxide. We require oxygen for our respiration, and when we will exhale out the air, we are exhaling out carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is utilized by plant and trees when they are doing this photosynthesis. So this carbon dioxide they are taking via leaves, via stomata pore. Now stomata pores are a simple pores on the surface of the leaves which are responsible for gaseous exchange. So from the leaves they are taking carbon dioxide from the air. Then comes sunlight. So sunlight they are taking with the help of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green pigment present into the leaves. So via chlorophyll they are taking sunlight. Then they are making food. Now food they are making in form of carbohydrates. Now there are many form of carbohydrates. They are storing their food into the leaves in the form of starch. Then they are liberating out oxygen. So it is a byproduct of this photosynthesis. Now they are taking in the carbon dioxide from the leaves, the same way they are giving out oxygen at the end of photosynthesis process. Now let us understand everything with the help of pictures and in detail. So this is our photosynthesis process in which they are using water, mineral, carbon dioxide and sunlight. Now water and mineral they are taking it from the root. And plants have small pipe-like vessel, as you can see it here. And they will channelize these nutrients so that it will reach till the leaves. So here small pipes and vein-like structure will be there. They will send this water and mineral from the roots till the leaves so that they will use this water and mineral for their photosynthesis process. Now, what are the minerals? Minerals are like phosphorus and nitrogen. All these are also termed as inorganic substance. So these substances they are taking as a mineral. Combinedly they all are called mineral. So they are taking it from the soil along with the water. Then comes carbon dioxide. Molecular formula we are writing it like this, that is CO2. They are taking up from the air. Then comes the sunlight they are taking from the sun, and they are making carbohydrates, and they are storing the food in the form of starch into the leaves, and in turn they will give out oxygen. They are taking carbon dioxide in and they are giving out oxygen. So these are the stomata pore. As you can see on the leaves, on the surface of the leaf, this kind of pores will be there. This is a pore and it is surrounded by these small guard cells. So they will open up the pore when photosynthesis is happening. And via this pore, the leaves are taking carbon dioxide from the air. So here carbon dioxide leaves are taking via stomata pore. Pore means a tiny holes will be there on the surface of the leaves, and they are surrounded by this guard cell. So this guard cell will open up this stomata pore and then they will take the carbon dioxide in for the photosynthesis process. Now chlorophyll is a green pigment, as you can see into the picture, and this green color pigment will absorb the sunlight from the nature, and that they are using to make starch and oxygen. Now photo means light and synthesis to combine. With the help of light, they are combining all this simple substance. What are the simple substances? Simple substances means water, minerals, carbon dioxide. They are combining and they are making food. And that is our photosynthesis. So this table will help you to remember that what is the function of each part in photosynthesis. Now we all know that leaves are doing photosynthesis, but how the deserted plant like this cactus are doing photosynthesis as they don't have leaves. So as we can see into the pictures, the leaves have converted into the thorns. Now this, why they have converted, why they have adopted this feature? Because these thorns will not lose any water. How the leaves are losing the water via transpiration, the thorns will not lose any water, and it will in turn help them to save some of the water, because in the desert there will be scarcity of the water. So they have adopted this feature that they have converted leaves into the thorns. Now who will do the photosynthesis? So here as you can see, the stem is of green color. So the stem, instead of leaves, the stem will do the photosynthesis and it will suffice the need of food. Cell. Now what is a cell? All the living organisms are made up of a tiny unit called cell. So there will be many cells in one organism, and there can be only one cell in the organism. If there is only one cell, then they are termed as unicellular. If there are many cells, for example humans, so in our body there are many cells, so we are termed as multicellular organism. So first of all, what is a cell? Cell is a basic unit of all the living organism. It is a tiny and the smallest unit of all the living organism. So here this is a structure of one cell. So here as you can see, there will be three parts of cell. The boundary. So very tiny and thin boundary will be there for each and every cell, which is termed as cell membrane. This boundary is known as cell membrane. Now the center is termed as nucleus. Now it is centrally located and spherical structure. It is in the shape of sphere and it is termed as nucleus. The center of the cell is termed as nucleus and it has a spherical structure. Now in between cell membrane and nucleus, there will be a jelly-like substance in which the nucleus is there. So that is termed as cytoplasm. So this jelly-like substance present within the cell membrane, it is termed as cytoplasm. So there are three parts of one cell: cell membrane, the outer boundary, cytoplasm, a jelly-like substance within the cell in which the nucleus is present. The spherical centrally located structure is known as nucleus. Now there are two types of organisms. One is unicellular, those who are having only one cell in their body. For example, amoeba. Amoeba is an organism which has only one cell in its body. That's why they are termed as unicellular organism. Second, like humans, animals, they are multicellular because they are having many cells in their body. So there are two types of organism based on the cell. So this is a cell and this is a structure of the cell. So from the photosynthesis process, we are going to learn two reasons, two very important reasons. The first one is sun is the ultimate source of energy for all the living organism. Why sun is the ultimate source of energy for all the living organism? Because it helps in photosynthesis. Autotrophs are performing photosynthesis with the help of sunlight. So it is essential for the photosynthesis. Then during photosynthesis process, the oxygen is liberating out as a product and which is essential for all the living organism for their survival. We cannot survive without oxygen, and that oxygen need is suffice and fulfilling by the photosynthesis process. Every day plants are taking in carbon dioxide and giving out oxygen. So that's why they are maintaining the balance in the nature for the oxygen amount. So it is very important, and this is happening via sunlight. Without sunlight, the photosynthesis is not possible, and if it is not possible, then oxygen level will not be balanced in the nature. So that is why also the sun is important. Then third is it gives out energy. How that carbon dioxide and water will combine in presence of sunlight and it is producing glucose. So that's why sun is also important. Then it is the first key and it is the first step for the food chain, that sunlight is giving energy to plant to do the photosynthesis. Plants are food for the deer and all the animals which are depending upon the plants, and then all the carnivores who are depending upon these animals are also surviving because these animals are depending upon plants and plants are surviving because the sunlight is there. So if sunlight is not there, then this food chain also will not exist, and that's why the sun is the ultimate source of energy for all the living organism. So our second important reason is in absence of sunlight, the life would not be possible on the earth. If there would be no sunlight, then will there be any life on the earth? So no, there will be no life on the earth because there will be no food in absence of sunlight. Then there will be no plants and no vegetation because they are depending upon the sunlight to make their food. If they cannot make their food, then they cannot survive without food. So there will be no plants, no vegetation. There will be no balance for oxygen. Via this photosynthesis process, this balance is maintained in the nature, that they are giving out oxygen and they are taking carbon dioxide, so they are maintaining this balance. If there will be no balance for oxygen, then we cannot survive on the earth. Then survival for all organisms would not be possible because all the organisms, directly or indirectly, they are depending upon the plants. As I have shown you earlier that plants are eaten by the deer, deers are eaten by the tiger, so tigers are indirectly depending upon the plants. So the first key of the food chain is the sunlight. So if there will be no sunlight, then there will be no photosynthesis, no plants, no vegetation, and no organisms will survive on the earth. When we are talking about photosynthesis process, we know that they are making carbohydrates. The plant is preparing their food in the form of carbohydrates and they are storing this carbohydrate in the form of starch into the leaves. So if we want to check the presence of starch into the leaves, then now here we are using iodine. Now iodine is a substance which will give a taste in presence of starch. So it is also termed as an indicator. Indicator means it will indicate the presence of something. So when we are using iodine as an indicator, it will indicate the presence of starch which is present into the leaves. So how they are indicating us that when we are adding a few drops of starch on the leaves, it will show blue or black color patches on the leaves. So this is the indication for starch presence into the leaves. If we can see blue and black color patches on the leaves, that means starch is present in those leaves. So with the help of iodine, we are going to perform this activity, and let us understand through diagram that how we are checking the presence of starch in the leaves. Now to check the presence of starch into the leaves, we are using iodine, and iodine, as we have discussed, it is the indicator. Indicator means it will indicate the presence of some substance. Is something like this. We are choosing two plants, two potted plants, that plant A and B. One we are keeping it under sunlight and other one we are keeping it into the dark for 72 hours. So this plant won't be able to do any photosynthesis, won't be able to generate any food material which will be as a result of photosynthesis. Now the plant which we have kept into the sunlight, that is plant A, and the plant which we have kept into the dark, that is plant B. So after some time, after we are keeping it into the sunlight, after some time we are doing iodine test. So what we are doing is we are pouring 2 to 3 drops of iodine on the leaves, and as we can see, it will give us blue and black patches on the leaves. That means there is a presence of starch into this leaf. Now why there is a presence of starch? Because we have kept this potted plant into the sunlight, where plant have done the photosynthesis process and they have made carbohydrates and stored carbohydrates in the form of starch. So we got this blue and black patches on the leaves, which in turn they are confirming that plant has done photosynthesis process in the presence of sunlight. Now the plant B, which we have kept in the dark for 72 hours, we are adding some of the iodine drops on the leaves and they will not show any color. They will not show any blue and black patches on the leaf. So that means there will be no presence of any starch, because plant has not done any photosynthesis process. Plant has not made any food. Without photosynthesis, they cannot make food, and for the photosynthesis we require sunlight. So there is an absence of starch here. Why? Because we have kept the plant in dark. Now the same plant B, we are keeping it into the sunlight. And after some time, we are performing the iodine test on plant B. So it will also show the blue and black patches. That means after keeping the plant in the sunlight, they will make a food, they will made carbohydrate, and they have stored starch into the leaf, and here we can see the presence of starch. So earlier the same plant we have kept it in a dark. It did not show any presence of starch. After some time we have kept it in a sunlight, and after that it has shown presence of starch. We can see here blue and black color patches. That means in presence of sunlight they are making food. Without sunlight they cannot make food. And food means they are making carbohydrates and they are storing in the form of starch. Now as we know that chlorophyll is a pigment which will absorb the sunlight, and chlorophyll is green color pigment which is present into the leaves. Now some of the leaves, as you can see into the figure, some of the leaves are having some different colors. So will they be able to perform photosynthesis process without chlorophyll? So the leaves other than green color also have chlorophyll. The large amount of red, brown and other pigments mask the green color. So they do have chlorophyll, but some other color pigments are very high. The amount of other color pigments are high in these leaves. So green color pigment got masked into these leaves. So that's why we are not able to see. Otherwise the chlorophyll is present into these leaves. So photosynthesis take place in these leaves also. Now comes algae. We all know about algae, and they also have chlorophyll which gives them green color. Algae can also prepare their own food with the help of photosynthesis. As you can see into the picture, in a stagnant water, and where the water will be collected and sunlight is there, we can see this green color patches, and we term these plants as algae. The nitrogen need of plant. Plants are synthesizing carbohydrates via photosynthesis process, that we know. But along with the carbohydrates, plants are also making protein and fat for their requirement for their food as their food. So to synthesize protein, plants require nitrogen. When they are making protein, they need to make amino acid, and for the amino acid they require nitrogen. Now how they are taking nitrogen from the nature? So we know that they are taking carbon dioxide from the air, and we know that nitrogen percentage in the air is very high, that is 78%. But plant cannot take nitrogen in a gaseous form. How they are taking carbon dioxide through leaves, through stomata pore, they cannot take nitrogen like that. So in which form they are taking nitrogen? They need it in the soluble form from the soil, and they will take this via water. Along with the water they are taking it, and they are taking it into the soluble form via roots along with the water. So they are taking it from the soil. They are not taking it from the air. How they are taking the carbon dioxide. So the mode of accepting nitrogen is different, and it is via soil. So that's why we often hear that farmers are utilizing the nitrogen rich fertilizer. Why they are utilizing this fertilizer? To fulfill the need of plants for the nitrogen. Now, plants have their own way to take nitrogen from the nature, and they are doing it via symbiotic relationship in between plants and rhizobium bacteria. So this rhizobium bacteria will stay in the roots. They will make a nodule-like structure, and they will stay here into the roots, and they will suffice the need of nitrogen to the plant. Now, what is the meaning of symbiotic relationship? When two organisms are living together, and it will be beneficial for both. Both are in turn giving each other something, and they both will survive, and that relationship is known as symbiotic relationship. When we are talking here about plants, then plants will give food and shelter, that they will allow this bacteria to stay here in their roots, and whatever food this plant is making, that will be taken up by this bacteria. So plants are giving food and shelter to bacteria, whereas in turn bacteria will absorb the atmospheric nitrogen, and it will convert it into a soluble form. So gaseous nitrogen will convert it into soluble form so that plant can take up that nitrogen. And in turn they both are giving something to each other, and they both will survive, and it is beneficial for both. So this relationship is known as symbiotic relationship, and with this they will fulfill their need for the nitrogen. All the legume plants have these nodules in their roots. So legume plants means what all dals and pulses we are using in our food, they are termed as legume plants. So they all are having a rhizobium bacteria into their roots, into their nodules, and via this they are fulfilling their requirements for the nitrogen. In this segment, we are going to talk about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Earlier, we have talked about autotrophic mode of nutrition, in which plants are making their own food. Whereas in heterotrophic mode of nutrition, the organisms are depending upon the other organisms to suffice their food need, is known as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Hetero means other, and tropic means the nutrition, the mode of nutrition by which they are suffice their food need. Now there are four types of heterotrophs. First one are parasites. Parasites means they are depending upon host. They are harmful for the host, and they are surviving upon the host. They are termed as parasite. Then second are insectivorous plants. Plants which are eating insects, they are termed as insectivorous plants. Third are saprophytes. The organisms which are depending upon the dead and decaying of organic matter. Once the animal will die, or the leaves will get dry and fall onto the earth, the bacteria and the organisms which are depending upon this dead and decaying material, they are known as saprophytes. And the fourth category of organisms, they are known as symbionts. Symbionts means two organisms are living with each other, and in turn this relationship will be beneficial for both of them, and they will survive together. In turn they are sharing some of their need, and they will survive together. They are known as symbionts. So now let us talk about each in detail. So let us learn first one, that is parasitic mode of nutrition. Here as you can see, this is an amerbale, this is a cascata. So this cascata is on the stem of the host. This is a host. And from the host body, it is taking all the nutrition all the food product for its own purpose. Here also you can see on the tree this yellow color is the amarbale and it is cascata. So it is all over on the tree and it is using the ready-made food from the tree itself. It is not making their own food because as we can see it doesn't have any green color pigment, it does not have chlorophyll. See, so it cannot make its own food, it cannot do photosynthesis. So it is taking ready-made food from the host. So that's why it is harming the host and that's why it is known as parasite. And this mode of nutrition is known as parasitic mode of nutrition. Now the second is insectivorous plants. Here we are taking example of pitcher plant. Now pitcher plant is following two types of mode of nutrition, that is they have chlorophyll pigment also. So they will do photosynthesis also. Plus they will trap some insects inside their plant and they will absorb the nutrition from insect body. So that's why pitcher plants are also termed as partially heterotrophs because they are performing photosynthesis. But the remaining nutrients they are taking from the insect body. Now how they are trapping the insect inside, that they have this jug-like structure. Pitcher means jug, a large jug, and they have the lead over here. Once the insect will get attracted by their bright colors, they will slip inside. As this is inside structure of pitcher plant, as you can see the inverted thrones are there, so insect will get slipped inside. Once they will get inside, they will not come out because inside surface is very slimy, it is very sticky. So they cannot come out and they will get dissolved into the digestive juice which are present at the end of this large jug structure. So they will absorb all this nutrition from the insect body. So that's why insectivorous plants are partially heterotrophs, that they will suffice their need from both the process. First, that is photosynthesis, they will make their own food, and the remaining nutrition need they will take it from the insect's body. Then comes the saprotrophic mode of nutrition. To understand this, we have one bread, we are moistening it. That means we are adding some few drops of water onto that and then we are leaving it into a warm place. So after 2-3 days, we can see some of the gray color, green color patches on the bread, and after some days we can see that bread is fully covered with this fungi. So this fungi and this fluffy patches, what we can see on the bread is they are saprophytes because they are depending upon dead and decaying organic matter. Next is symbionts. That means the organism which are following the symbiotic relationship. They are known as symbionts, in which some organisms live together and share both shelter and nutrients. As you can see here, this fungi is there. This white color patches is a fungi and it is in the roots of the plant. So fungi and roots of the plant, they are sharing the symbiotic relationship, that plant provides nutrients to fungus and in turn the fungus provide water and certain nutrients to plant. So they both are giving each other something and they will survive together. It is beneficial for both of this organism. So it is known as symbiotic relationship. Now other example is lichens. In lichens, there will be two organisms, one is fungus and other one is alga. So alga is giving the chlorophyll containing partner. Here as we can see, this is alga. Alga is providing food to the fungus because it has a chlorophyll, it can perform photosynthesis, so it can give food to the fungus, whereas the fungus will provide shelter, water and mineral to the alga. So here this is a fungus and this is a alga. So in turn, both are giving something to each other and they both will survive. Another symbiotic relationship is The legume plants are with the rhizobium bacteria. As we know that plant cannot take atmospheric nitrogen. They need nitrogen from the soil into the soluble form. So bacteria called rhizobium, they will take the atmospheric nitrogen and they are converting it into a soluble form, a usable form. So plant will give food and shelter to bacteria, whereas rhizobium bacteria will give soluble nitrogen to plant. And this association has a great significance for the farmer because they can reduce the new use of nitrogenous fertilizer. They can grow these legume plants which will increase the level of nitrogen into the soil. And again the soil will become rich with nitrogen without use of artificial and chemical fertilizer. So this is a natural mode by which the nature is replenishing all the nutrients back to the soil. So soil will again have some of the nitrogen and which plant will take up for their use without use of artificial fertilizer.